was just such a vibrant kid, but on the outside. And on the inside, I had such confusion, and I was confused on why I was accepted by so many, but I knew that if I just said the two words, that I wouldn't be. And that's how it went. I said those two words, and not long after that, my church stopped asking me to sing. And literally everything that I knew and was comfortable with slowly started to go away.
That was Ethan Miller. I'm Buddy Forbes, and this is Queerly Quilted. What I first want to talk about is just kind of your experience, as open as you want to be, as an LGBTQ plus person in Appalachia.
Gotcha. So growing up, of course, my family always, I grew up in church. It was always the foundation of everything we did. I went to a private Christian school. Most of my childhood, we're talking pretty much all of middle school. I did in third grade go to public school, and then I went right back to the private. But I loved going to church. It was always something that I found comfort in. I was always involved in children's church, and I sang in church almost every Sunday. I was singing, and I knew from a very young age. I'll say I don't want to say I knew it at 10 because I was that way all along, I guess you can say. But I really told myself I think I'm gay when I was 11 years old. And I didn't tell anybody else. I told myself that if I was ever asked, I would tell the truth. And I wasn't asked until I was 16 years old. It was October 12th of 2016, and my mom just turned around in the car and asked me, "Are you gay?" And I said yes, and before I could get anything else out, I was just in tears. And all through growing up, by no means was it easy. People can look at my social media and my posts that I make and think that it's easy because of the way that I make it look now. But the battle and the struggle that I went through to get to where I'm at now was, I don't want to say interesting, but to say the least. Like I said, I grew up in a Christian family, and my mom was a school teacher at the school that I went to. So when I came out, she took it very hard. My whole family took it hard, but my parents especially. Me and my mom had so many conversations, conversations that, now I look back and it's conversations that they needed to be had. But at the time, to say that it wasn't hurting me or that I didn't understand why it was happening, I was confused. And she doesn't even know this, but I would record the conversations and listen to them at nighttime to prepare for the next one. And now I have deleted all those conversations because I don't want to go back and relive that again. But that was just the truth of the matter, and that's how much I thought it was important to, I knew that she needed to understand, but I didn't know how to make her understand because in my eyes, she raised me, she knew, and she said that. She eventually came to the terms where she told me, she was like, I knew all along, but it was just, she didn't want to hear the words. And it's really hard for me to sit and think that the person that I was closest to, me and my mom are still to this day, if I need anything, I call my mother, she is by far my ride or die. And it was a lot, but I can say now that my whole family is accepting, and it just took a long time to get there.
So what was that like for you, finally saying those words, yes, I am?
So like I said, when I first said the words yes to the question, are you gay? I simply broke down into tears because, 16 years I waited to say those words. And it's kind of like, you could say the weight was lifted off my shoulders, but then again, it was kind of like more weight was put on because it was well, now I have to tackle this. Once that word was said, I knew from then on, this is going to be a battle because being where I'm from, not only would it be a battle within my family, it's going to be a battle in school. It's going to be a battle in public. And it was right when I was going into high school. And I told myself in 8th grade, I was like, during the summer, when I start high school, I'm going to be not a different person, but I'm going to be me. I'm going to be myself. And I stood true to that word. I came out October 12th of 2016. And it was, like I said, it was a journey. But by the time I started high school, I was dating someone. And I'm not going to say any names or anything, but we dated for 7 years. And when we got together, it was right when I had first came out. And it was really hard because I didn't tell my parents that I was dating anybody. So I was keeping that a secret. So I was trying every way I could to make it work. Like I wasn't someone that, I was very involved in school. Like we're talking class president, I was in choir, but I wasn't involved in any of like sports or anything like that. But he was a cheerleader. So I was like, okay, this is my time. I'm just going to have to find something that I can do and cheer, but I was by no means going to be a cheerleader. I can't flip. I can't do nothing. I can't turn. I'm so clumsy. So I was like, what can I do? So I was like, the school doesn't have a mascot, but I've seen pictures of a mascot. So they have a costume. So I went to the principal and I was like, can I be the mascot? And so I became the mascot of my school just simply so I could go to the cheer practices. And I think that's initially what sparked Mom's. She was like, something's up with that. That's not just something he would want to do. And that's initially what I think led her up to asking me the question, are you gay? And like I said, I think everything happens for a reason. And I think that everything that happened in high school just honestly developed me into who I am today. And without all of that, I really don't think that I would be as strong as I am. And it's really hard because I was bullied in school. And people all the time, my friends are like, Ethan, why don't you say anything? Why don't you do anything? But I would walk past it. I don't like saying slurs, but I am going to say the one that I was called in high school. They would call me Fagatron, and really creative, right?
Oh, yeah.
Very childish, like we were in high school. But that was like very common, like that every time they seen me, that was the word they said. And I laughed it off. I thought it was funny, but like nobody else took it as a joke in my friend group or anything. And I'm going to tell this one story because it's relevant. My friend, I'm not going to say her name, but she said if I ever hear them say that, I'm going to do something about it. And I was always the person that I was like, please don't, because it's just going to cause me more problems. It's hard to understand that, but I felt like that's giving them what they want. So we were walking into the library after school to study, and we walked past those boys, and of course they yelled out the slur. And she'd done nothing but throw her back into the library, and then she chased this guy out of the library. I hear her yelling his name, and I'm like turning every corner. I can't find her, so I just go sit back down. I didn't think nothing of it. She comes back in like 20 minutes later, like it was a minute, and her knuckles are bleeding, her glasses are broke, she's hysterical, she's crying. And of course, I'm like in protection mode. So I'm like, are you okay? Like, what happened? Like, my brain went to a million different areas. And she was like, I knocked him out. And then the principal comes in and he's like limping. And it led up to us both sitting in the principal's office. And I was like, why am I here? Like, I literally did nothing. Like, nothing at all. And I didn't get in trouble. I didn't at all. I was kind of just there to tell the story. But why she did it, the principal was like, why didn't you come to me and say that he was getting bullied? Or, Ethan, why didn't you come to me and say that you were getting bullied? And I was like, well, for one, I didn't think that anything would be done. And she was like, she stopped me in my tracks right there and was like, that's exactly why I did it. She was like, my sister went to school here, and you were the principal when she went to school here. She had a gay friend. And it went so far to where he got put in the hospital because of what happened, and you were told. And that's always stuck with me because, I didn't understand why she was taking it so hard when they were saying the slurs to me. But it's being from this area, it's like even the people that are accepting, it's like they have to fight. Like, that's just, it's sad. Like she should have never had to do something like that to feel like she was protecting her friend.
Right.
Like I don't know. And if she's listening to this today, I mean, she would do it again. I know she would. But I mean, I could never thank her enough for doing that. But at the same time, I do consider it as one of the pivotal moments in my coming out story, because at that moment, I kind of realized that I need to stand up for myself, and I need to own myself and own who I am and simply just be me. And that's honestly what I did. And I didn't really care what anyone thought about it. I became the class president. I put myself in front of everybody, and I did it in a way that I was myself. I wore skinny jeans. I wore the bright colors. And it's so weird because people, I mean, they put the whole misconception on gay, and they're like, if you're gay, you like makeup, you like the bright colors, you like the glitter, and that's not the case at all. Like, I mean, I know so many gay people, so many walks of life, and they're just people. They're people. They literally have their own way of living, and that's kind of just like, I mean, when I came out, my parents were very like, I mean, they were worried about what the community was going to think. Like, because I don't know if they thought I was going to change, or that I had, I don't know, bottled stuff in that was going to come out later. And it kind of was like that, because I had a love for makeup. And that's talking about people that helped me through my coming out story. We're going to talk about James Charles a little bit. And I know it's a little bit controversial to talk about him, because, I mean, he has went through a lot with the cancel culture and everything like that. But when it comes to my coming out story, he definitely played a pivotal role. And I mean that because October 11th, he was announced the first male cover girl. And that was in 2016. The next day, October 12th, was the day that I came out to my parents.
Oh, wow.
So it was like, I don't know, I feel like his journey just kind of, I followed it at the same time that I was having my coming out journey, and he was already there. Like, he had made it in my eyes. He was kind of what I wanted to be in the future. And never in a million years did I think I would ever get anywhere near close to where he's at. But I mean, looking at where I'm at now, I have over 70,000 followers on TikTok. I own my own beauty brand. I'm a certified makeup artist. I'm a social media specialist, I guess you could say. I don't know, and it kind of just, and I give him credit for a lot of that, because he definitely inspired me and gave me the interest when I was younger. I tell this story all the time, but I always loved makeup. The idea of it when I was younger, my cousin would do it, and I always loved it. The idea of dress up when she would play like with her like princess dresses, like I was always fascinated by it. And growing up, when I discovered his YouTube, it was like that was my comfort. That was my place I went to. And that's honestly how I learned how to do makeup. And I was never doing it on myself. I was just watching him do makeup. And it led me to where I did develop an interest, and I was like, hey, maybe I want to do it on myself. So I was like playing my mom's makeup. Like if she would go grocery shopping or something, she probably doesn't even know this, but I would play in her makeup, and it was not my shade. And before she got home, I would have it like completely removed and like put back to where like nobody knew anything. And I don't know if she knew, because I mean, you can tell if makeup's used. At least I can. If someone touches my makeup, I'm gonna know. So I don't know if she knows, and I still don't know if she knows to this day, but that's something that I did. And it's just, when James Charles released his first palette, I had no makeup to my name, but I knew that was going to be my first product. Like, I had to buy that. And my sister she got it for me. And I mean, I think my mom did know about it, but for some reason, like, I kept it hid. Like, I would like keep it under my bed, or like I wouldn't play with it. Like, I would just like look at it and admire it. Right. But it did get to the point to where I started to play in the makeup, and I would do one eye. Like, they would leave, and I would do one eye, and then I would take a picture of it and then take it off. And then I would just keep doing that, and that developed my love for makeup. And it feels like it's like therapy for me, because it's not like sitting down to paint my face. It's kind of like I'm painting a canvas. It's like art. Like, even now, I don't go out in public with a full face of makeup. By no means do I want to, because at this point I think I probably would. Like, if I wanted to, I would go out and do it, but I don't want to speak on that, because I feel like if I did it one time, I would change my mind really fast. But when I do makeup now, I sit down for probably, I don't know, 8 hours at a time to film, and when I get finished, I just wipe it off. And that's kind of just that's the routine that I've developed, and it's not because I'm embarrassed of liking makeup or that I don't want to wear makeup out in public. It's just it never was my intention really. Like it was never. It's just something I like doing. It's
Right.
like I don't know. It's an escape.
Well, you're doing it for yourself, not for anyone else.
Absolutely. And that also, I mean, that when I talk about hiding things when my parents would leave, that was something I honestly, now that I'm sitting here talking to you, that I did a lot more than I realized.
Right.
But I would watch RuPaul's Drag Race, and that was something that, I mean, I knew my parents wouldn't understand. Like, if they didn't understand me being gay, like, I was like, if they found out I watched RuPaul's Drag Race, like, they're gonna die. So I would, again, when they would go grocery shopping, and Mom, but I know she felt weird about that because I loved going to Walmart. I'm a shopper.
So something was up if you didn't
something
want to
was
go.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they would leave and I would turn on RuPaul's Drag Race and I would get so upset if they got back before the episode went off and I didn't get to figure out who got sent home or what happened. But that leads me to the discovery of Eureka O'Hara. And that was in 2017. So I had been out for about a year when she first made an appearance on RuPaul's Drag Race. And she's from Johnson City, so she's really close. And I had always been to Johnson City to go school clothes shopping, so I was familiar with the area, so I could really make a connection. And it really inspired me to see someone that was from an area that was so similar to what mine was, doing big things. And I was like, not that could be me one day, but in my head, like I was always a dreamer. Like I'm a big time dreamer, and I was like, well, that could be me one day. Like I have no excuse not to chase my dreams. And so Eureka really, without knowing it, she really was a big inspiration for me. And throughout her whole journey on RuPaul's Drag Race, I mean, she went through so many seasons, and then she also became a member of the squad that was on We're Here, and they traveled to different areas and small towns, and they put people in drag who had never been in drag before, simply just to spread the message and the awareness in the area. And a lot of people don't know this, but I was considered for the show, and so was Pike County. And I kind of developed a relationship with Eureka a little bit, but not much. Like we connected on TikTok, but I would never say we were like friends or anything. But I went to one of her shows, we connected, we got each other's numbers, never thinking anything of it. And then fast forward to 2023 Pikeville Pride, and Eureka O'Hara was the special guest. And that was such a I have chills sitting here saying that right now because that was such a full circle moment for me to have had her as an inspiration throughout such a pivotal moment in my life, and then to have her as the headliner at my hometown's Pikeville Pride. And not only was she the headliner, but I was the MC. So it was like, I don't know, it didn't really seem real. And standing on the stage, even every time I walked off, I was like, oh my gosh, this is my hometown. There's 3,000 people out there celebrating love, equality, acceptance. And it still to this day, when I think about it, it's shocking. And that's kind of where we're at now is this area accepting or is it not? And I don't think you'll ever be able to answer that question with a yes or no. I don't. That's the same with pretty much any area. And like I said, I was in a 7-year relationship, and not one time did we hold hands in downtown Pikeville, downtown Prestonsburg, downtown Painesville, any of the surrounding areas. We didn't. We were scared. I mean, I would be at stoplights and have people roll down their window to say slurs at me. Like, why? I don't understand. But I mean, you can look at me and know that I'm gay. I mean, that's just, and not that I try to dress that way, it's just the way I dress. But, and that's another thing. It was always, like, I know people, like I said earlier, people think that just because you're gay, you have to like fashion or you have to like makeup or pink or glitter. Or when I was younger, like, talking 3, 4, I would pick out my outfits. My mom did not pick them out for me. My brother would have, until he was probably, 8. Mom picked out his. I picked out mine. So it's kind of just, it's who you are. Like, and from a very young age, like looking back, home videos, like it was so there.
Yeah, I look back at a photo of myself and with my siblings, and I just had my hand on my hip, and I was like, "They knew,
They
they
knew.
knew."
Yeah, and they did, and
Right.
every one of them, like all of my family comes out now, and they tell me they're like, we knew all along, and it's kind of like I guess I sit with bottling it in for 16 years. That I mean, I played every scenario. Like, I mean, I had it in my head that if I came out, that they were going to accept me. I had it in my head that if I came out, I was going to have to move away and live alone for the rest of my life. Like, I had every scenario from, I mean, start to finish. I pretty much, in my head, I wasn't prepared, but in my head, I thought, okay, if I'm asked the question, I'm prepared to answer it with the truth. And it's so wild that it took 16 years. And that's like even with my friend group, like none of them asked. And I know that's, now when I say asked, I don't mean like some random stranger being like, are you gay? Like, I mean like a genuine ask. And I
Right.
was never really asked. The first person I came out to was my best friend in middle school. And when I say middle school, I mean Head Start all the way up. Like we grew up together and we actually came out to each other. And we knew all along, like we knew. It wasn't even really an emotional moment. It was kind of just like, we both just looked at each other and was like, hey. And we kind of just connected in that way. And then once we made that connection, we were each other's comfort. Like, we spent so much time together during middle school and high school. Like, I remember I would get on my four-wheeler and I would drive to her house and I would spend all day long. My parents would call and be like, Ethan, where are you at? You got to get home. But, like, I just felt so comfortable around her because it was the only person that I could really be myself around.
Right.
And I know she probably felt the same way. But now we've both been out for years. But a lot of my friend group, looking back, it's like we kind of, without knowing it, developed a friend group that honestly was LGBTQ plus based.
Right.
Like it was wild. And we did, I mean, obviously we were young, we were in kindergarten. There's a picture, I'll actually send it to you, but there's a picture of us all together in like kindergarten eating, I think it was breakfast together, but we always laugh at that picture, like what was in those juice boxes because of what happened. Literally, the lineup is like gay, lesbian, lesbian, gay.
Well, they say family knows family, so.
Yes. Yeah, and we honestly, even throughout high school, we graduated, we were friends all the way up. Like, we stayed close.
So for you, aside from this kind of friend group that you have, did you have any influences in the region that you could look at and say it would be safe to come out? Or for you, was it more of, like you said, kind of building up in your head? You didn't know because there was no one there that you could look at and say, well, that person in the region is doing this, so I can too.
Honestly, when I was growing up looking at the region, no. I didn't really have anyone that was here that I could, everyone that I looked at that was from here had moved away.
Right.
And that really, I mean, it has always been my dream to move away. Like, obviously, I want to live in a bigger city or a bigger area in general just to have bigger opportunities. But I still love my hometown. And it was scary because I was like, literally, everybody that's like me has moved. They've developed a life somewhere else. And not to say that that's what I thought I had to do. And now, I mean, I don't have a plan for the future really on where I want to live, but I mean, it's not out of the books to stay here. It is not. But I do know that this area does have a long way to go, but just like I just said, I didn't have nobody to look to when I was younger in this area, and they all had moved away. I could be that person. And that's even like sitting here today, agreeing to do this podcast, like it's hard to share this type of story. And I've never done it ever. Like nobody has heard this story. Even, I mean, it'll be hard for my family to listen to this podcast, but it's like, it's important. And I wish that when I was younger, I would have had something like this or just, I mean, anything really that would have been relatable, because everything that I related to was, I mean, like I said, they'd either moved away or there was someone that was already from an area like California, New York, or, everywhere in between.
Right. I think what I've learned is that we spend so much time trying to create a safe space or looking for a safe space outside of these mountains. This is speaking for myself growing up here. I again didn't see a space like that would make sense for me. So, like you said, thinking I have to leave was always the option. Like, that's the first thing that you think of. You have to find somewhere where you can be you. But I think seeing more people like you, more people who are in this region, and, we've seen people coming back to the region with the growth of Pikeville Pride, with all of those things working together. We've seen more LGBTQ plus Appalachians coming back home, and not only coming home, but coming home and saying, we've always been here and we're not leaving, so get used to it. So for you, what do you hope or what do you see as the future of?
That's a loaded question. So, Queer Appalachia, you mentioned Pikeville Pride. In 2017, Pikeville Pride wasn't a thing. It happened in 2018, and there was like 400 people there. And then fast forward to 2023, there was nearly 3,000, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure on the exact number there. But just seeing those numbers alone more than tripled in that short time. And it didn't more than triple because it became more popular. It more than tripled because people built up the courage to go. And I say that speaking on my own behalf because the first Pikeville Pride, I was not there. I was scared. I was like, I hate to say these words, but I thought the worst was going to happen at Pikeville Pride. I really did. And I wasn't the only one. And I know I wasn't the only one. I drove by just to see it. I did in my car. I remember doing that, but I didn't go. But the next year, I made it a point to go because, I sat with that all year long, knowing that I didn't go to that one. And I had never been to a Pride event leading up to that. And after that year, I had went to a Pride event in Charleston. It was a bigger city. I was like, I'm going to, not really a bigger city, but I kind of like weighed it out in my head to where I was like, I want to go to one that's kind of the same as our area, but a little bit bigger, so I would feel safe. And I hate that I did that, but I did. And I felt so safe, the safest I've ever felt. I went alone. Nobody went with me, not a single person. And I literally felt the safest I had ever felt. I felt free. I could be myself. Not a single eye turned when I walked down the street. And I had rhinestones on my eyebrows and not a single eye turned. So when I kind of sat with that for a little while, I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to get involved in this. Like, not just attend. I want to be involved. So, I had already developed a following on TikTok, and that's predominantly, I do makeup on there. And I have a following that's so accepting. And that's another thing that I think really helped me was when I graduated high school, this is something not a lot of people know, but I went to school for makeup, and COVID hit, and I had to do all of that online. I wasn't able to go to New York or do anything fun with it. I had to do it all online. And with that, I had to do some assignments on myself. Some of the first complete makeup looks I did on myself was assignments. So it was like, not that it happened accidentally, because obviously I had a very big interest in it, but the idea that doing it on myself and honestly really, really enjoying it, it did come from school. So I started posting on TikTok because I wasn't just going to do this stuff for assignments. So I made it work in a way that, like I said, I would sit down for 8 hours and feel like I didn't waste the makeup in a way.
Right.
I know that's really weird, but I developed such a love for makeup, and that became like therapy for me. And I feel like with Queer Appalachia, everyone has their own therapy. And that's with everyone that I've talked to in this area that are LGBTQ plus and are in the community, they all have something that they hold on to, whether it's playing instruments, music, writing music, poetry, art. They all have something, and they hold on to it strongly. And not to say that, straight people don't have the same thing, but it's so predominant in the LGBTQ plus community to see people that have a passion for an individual thing. And I don't know if that's just something that could be me just overthinking, because that's something that I do a lot, is overthinking, especially with these topics. Because like I said, I mean, I sit with 16 years of hiding it and overthinking every scenario. So that's something that I carried on, was the overthinking. But I do think that every person that's within this community has to have something that grounds them, gives them comfort, therapy.
And I think a large part of saying queer Appalachia is, as you were saying, there are all of these specific things that LGBTQ plus people are a part of, but like you said, other people are as well. So it's not really about separating queer Appalachia. It's about integrating queer Appalachia as just Appalachia, which is something a previous guest spoke about. We are Appalachians first. We are also queer. Those two things are not, you can have those two things at the same time. And I think that's the big part of what I want this podcast to show is, these voices that haven't been able to speak for themselves, or these voices that we didn't get to hear when we were younger, have been here all along, continue to be here. And I guess by kind of highlighting them, it's not othering them, it's saying, this is a real thing that needs to be highlighted, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
If you were to be able to speak to 15-year-old Ethan, 14-year-old Ethan, the Ethan who didn't yet say, yes, I'm gay, what would you say?
Wow. Okay, I have chills before answering that, but one, I would tell them to don't be scared and do it sooner. Own who you are. Simply be you. That's my motto that I live by now. But when I was, I don't know, as a child, I was so vibrant. And everyone, I mean, even looking back, like I would ride my scooter on the holler and I would sing, and the people that lived on the holler, they still saw me to this day and was like, I remember you singing on the scooter up the holler when you were younger. But I was just such a vibrant kid, but on the outside. And on the inside, I had such confusion, and I was confused on why I was accepted by so many, but I knew that if I just said the two words, that I wouldn't be. And that's how it went. I said those two words, and not long after that, my church stopped asking me to sing. And literally everything that I knew and was comfortable with slowly started to go away. It did gradually come back slowly, but if I could tell him one thing, it would be just to put yourself first. Don't worry about what others think. And I know that's kind of like, I'm not going to say that's selfish, but in a way, I guess it kind of is, because it's important to understand the way other people see things, especially with family. Like with my parents, I really had to sit with myself and try to understand how they were understanding me coming out. But that's such a loaded question. But like I said, the one simple thing I would say is just simply be you, be yourself, push forward, push through, and it's brighter on the other side, way brighter. And I don't say that to be cliche or anything, but like it's wild to think that where I am now, if you would have asked me in even 2015, a year before I came out, if you would have asked me then if I would put makeup on and post it online, literally that would have been the last thing I thought would be possible. Like, by no means. Like, and not that I even knew what would happen if I did it. Like, it's not that I thought my parents were going to disown me, or that I put weight on things myself. And I guess I did that because, growing up in this area, And just my whole life even in school, this always bothered me, but like, it was cool to just call things gay.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what it was, like someone liking Mountain Dew, that's gay. And that always bothered me. Like, that ate me alive because it's like, I don't know. It feels like I'm finding so hard to be able to say those words, and you're just throwing them out there at a random object. I don't know. It always bothered me. And, it's just little things like that I always notice. And even with my family, like, sometimes, there was a time that I distinctly remember, and this is not something that happened multiple times, but it only had to happen once for it to stick with me. There was a gay scene on a movie or a TV show. I remember the exact TV show. It was Nashville. It was a show on TV about country music stars, and that was my dream when I was younger. I wanted to be a country music singer, and quite ironic that that's what I wanted to be, being gay. And I knew that I was gay. Like I said, I told myself when I was 11 I was gay, but I don't know. I loved country music. So watching Nashville and then them putting in a gay couple, that really meant a lot to me without anybody knowing it. Obviously, I couldn't let that be shown, but they would fast forward through the scenes. And it only happened once. I don't remember it happened multiple times, but it was a more intimate scene, and it was fast forwarded through when, if it was a straight scene, it would not have been. And when I was younger, I was asked to like cover my eyes and stuff during those scenes, but it wasn't fast forwarded through. So that did stick with me. And to say that I didn't go in my bedroom that night and go to the recorded series and watch that exact clip that was fast forwarded through, yes, I did. But it still stuck with me. And that's something that I know that a lot of kids in this area deal with. And that's a very small thing, but those small things times by 200 piles up, and it piles up fast.
Picture Pride when you're emceeing, you're on that stage, there's thousands of people there. And I want you to put 15-year-old Ethan on that stage. Did you ever imagine in your wildest dreams that that would be your reality today?
He wouldn't have had the confidence, to stand on the stage. And that's crazy to think about. Even though saying the words "I'm gay" brought me down a lot, and it was a hard 2 years. It was hard, but it instilled so much confidence in me after I really realized that this didn't end my world. It started it. And it hurts to think that I waited 16 years to get that started, because it's so much better on the other side. But 15-year-old Ethan standing on the Pikeville Pride stage, oh my gosh. Like I said, he wouldn't have had the confidence, one, but two, I don't even know that he would have been able to find words to say. And that was something that at Pikeville Pride this year, with the script or the cue cards that I was reading, most of those I literally got them like 20 minutes before Pikeville Pride. It wasn't something that I prepared for. So it kind of just came natural to me. So I feel like 15-year-old Ethan, he would not have been prepared, but it took what I went through to get me to the point to where I was able to do it and feel confident and not be nervous. Like, I wasn't nervous. And that, 15-year-old Ethan would have been nervous, but I wasn't nervous at all. And it shocks me even now to look back on, because even doing things like theater, I always done theater growing up, I get nervous. Like, it's just nerves set in. I have my little things I do to get them to go away, but I love performing. I wasn't nervous that day. I guess it just felt surreal. It felt, so empowering to know that, one, I was getting to do it. Two, I was doing it in my hometown. And three, knowing that I could be a lot to, even if it was just one kid out there that seen me on the stage that connected in any way. If 15-year-old Ethan could stand on the Pikeville Pride stage and just see his community being as accepting as they were, Ethan would have came out at 15. Ethan wouldn't have waited until 16, because it was such a powerful day Um, and it's, like I said, the first Pikeville Pride had 400 people. Last year's had almost 3,000. And you're still going to have the people that look at those events and say that, well, those people aren't from this area. Those people are coming from somewhere else. But most people that I've seen there that day were from this area or from around this area. And there was some that traveled, and that speaks volumes as well. And people looked down upon that. I've seen a lot of hate on social media and things about it. And that really bothered me because it's like people traveling to our area to celebrate pride, to celebrate acceptance, to celebrate love. Like, I don't see how someone could look down on that. And it's just, it was, if someone could just go to Pikeville Pride and not have the negative opinion, just go to Pikeville Pride with all opinions aside and just see it for themselves, they would see what we see. And in a way that, I mean, they think drag queens and they think, I mean, I really don't know. I don't know what people think when they think drag queens, because it blows my mind at the, I don't even want to go into that. But if I would have had the privilege to sit at a drag show when I was younger and just feel what I feel at drag shows now, oh my gosh, like, I couldn't imagine. And it's so funny because when I first came out, like, that was one of the first things my dad was like, "You're not going to be a drag queen, are you?" And I was like, "No." Like, I've never sat with myself and said I wanted to be a drag queen. Now, to say I won't get in drag ever, I mean, there's probably going to be a day that you see me in a wig with makeup on. There's probably going to be a day, but it's not my dream. Like, it was never my dream. And it's so funny because that's another thing. It's just like people automatically assume things. And that was really hard when I started doing makeup, because that was a big step, because it was like, oh, he is a drag queen. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not at all a drag queen. And it's so, the drag community is such a part of the LGBTQ plus community. And like we said earlier, finding those places to where you feel comfortable and to where gay bars. And I went to my first gay bar when I was 21. It was my 21st birthday. And I had no clue that you could go to gay bars at 18 and get in and they just put an X on your hand. I didn't know that, or I probably would have went to one before. But I went to my first one when I was 21, and not to party, not to drink. I went because I had always wanted to experience a drag show. And sitting in that room on my 21st birthday and experiencing a drag show, and it was a scenario that I had played over in my head like a million times. Was it what I thought it was going to be? No, it was not what I thought it was going to be. It was not RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm just going to say that it wasn't. But I loved it. Mm-hmm. And I felt so accepted there. And like I was saying earlier, going to my first Pride event, walking around, nobody was turning heads or anything. Even when I shop at Walmart, I feel like I'm being judged. And it could just be me being in my head, because I have so many confidence issues. It's not even funny, but those have built up over the years. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've dealt with body positivity issues, so many things. And I think I tend to put things on the back burner a lot, and they build up and they build up and they build up until I can't take anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of just, I'm over it. Like, I feel like now when I walk around, it's not that I don't focus on it as much, but I know that it's happening. Like, I mean, I can visually see people. I mean, I see people whispering, people talking. I get comments on my TikToks. Like, I have words filtered out on my TikTok so people can't comment them. Mm-hmm. But it's like, now that I've been out for, oh my gosh, 8 years. I've been out for 8 years now. So it doesn't feel as, and I hate to use the word burden, but when I first came out, it felt like a burden. Now it doesn't feel like a burden.
I mean, you already kind of mentioned your makeup. You also sell the beauty, okay, I
Hey,
can't
you're
do
one of
it.
the first people though that have actually at least tried to say beauty blender. Like, get the U in there.
I couldn't remember if it was beauty or beautiful, so I stopped shocking.
Well, yeah, well, the brand is Beautiful, and then my product is the Beauty Blender. But I really wanted to emphasize the U because, like I said earlier, my motto, even to this day, and it's been since I came out, was simply be you. Like, that's just kind of what I've stood by, and I knew in launching a brand that it had to be built around that. And that's kind of what I did. And I do sell beauty blenders and some makeup accessories, but I also sell apparel and merch. And one big thing for me was body positivity. Like I said, growing up, I really struggled with that, and it goes hand in hand with LGBTQ plus and all of that together. So when I launched, I made it a mission to donate a percentage of my sales to go to either a body positivity organization or an LGBTQ plus friendly organization. And I've stood by that, and I continue to do that. When I first launched, I did $1 per sale. That's not feasible anymore, but I just kind of stick to percentages, and during Pride Month, I do a little bit more, but I never thought I would be a brand owner. It happened accidentally, but I knew that if I was going to be a brand owner, I was definitely going to have it built on the foundation of acceptance. And I'm so excited to have my brand and to see what the future holds for it. Growing up, I really relied on social media a lot. Like, that's what I turned to because that's where I found my comfort. And I mean, just to name a couple of people like Jordan Dow, Eureka O'Hara, James Charles, Jeffree Star, those were all people that I watched when I was younger, but I never really realized how much they were influencing me or how much I looked up to them and how much they really helped me. And looking at my story and my coming out and the timeline of everything, it's crazy because it's like one of my favorite YouTubers, Jordan Dow, he came out October 11th of 2015. 1 year later, I came out the next day. And then with James Charles, he was announced the first male cover girl, October 11th. The next day I came out. So it was like so much was that I connected with the people that I found as, I guess you could say, inspiration. But it really, I never realized how much those people helped me. And if I can be that person for someone out there, that's kind of my goal. And when I first started TikTok, I never started it thinking I was going to develop a following. Like, it was never something that I thought this could be something one day. I just did it because I liked doing it. And then one of my videos got over 1 million views, and I gained like 10,000 followers. And I was like, okay, we're going to keep posting. And I kept posting, and not really realizing the impact I was having on anybody. And I mean, I can tell these stories, but I won't say any names or anything. But I mean, I've developed friendships and people that I see out and I talk to now because of TikTok, and people that I see out and they stop me and they say they watch my TikToks, or your TikToks help me get through my evenings, or I love watching your TikToks, they make me laugh, they brighten my day up. That's why I do it. That makes my day. That's why I have the energy to do what I do. And it's such a full circle moment because it's like little Ethan is doing what little Ethan looked up to. And I think that was a lot.
And where can people follow you?
So people can follow me at Ethan Miller Beauty on pretty much every platform. And then my website for my beauty blenders is imbeautiful.com. That's IMBEYOUTIFUL.com. And I made it imbeautiful.com so that when you type it in, you can be reminded that you are beautiful and that you need to just simply be you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
After you follow Ethan, make sure to follow the podcast. Facebook is Queerly Quilted. On Instagram, it's queerly.quilted. And you can send your emails to queerlyquiltedpodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to help others find the show, you can rate, review, subscribe on whatever platform you're using. That really helps these stories make it to the ears of the people who may need to hear them most. And though Pride Month is coming to a close, I hope that you can find reasons to be proud and loud about who you are. Until then, you are loved, you are needed, you are important, you are queerly quilted.